It's the 80s Experience on FM 88.5 KSBR with J.J. Buchanan. He's a multi-platinum musician and producer known for his membership in the great 80s rock band Great White, Mr. Michael Lardy. Michael, what's happening, my friend?
Oh, just rocking and rolling. Actually working on new material now because that's what we do in our downtime. It's kind of a quiet month for us, January always. And now we're, working on songs. I'm talking to Kendall all the time and, just come up with new ideas. And hopefully at some point we'll be able to compile all those and put those out this year.
Nice, very nice. So, Michael, take us back in time to when you were growing up, and who were you listening to at the time musically?
Well, the thing that completely floored me when I was a little kid. Well, to give you a little more background, my parents were very musical, so not players, but they always had music in the house. So I was listening to, opera, I was listening to rock and roll, I was listening to Elvis, all kinds of stuff. But what really floored me was seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. Mm-hmm. I swear to you, JJ, sitting in front of that television, I just turned around and my parents said my eyes were about as big as baseballs. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. And they're like patting me on the head going, yeah, isn't that cute? But that's what really killed me. And then after that, of course, it was the Stones, and it started to get a little bit, harder. We got into Sabbath, and then we went back to Crosby, Stills, Nash. So I've always been really lucky to have a very varied, likes in terms of my music.
And I hear you play like the guitar, bass, sitar, mandolin, piano, harmonica, and the flute. I mean, how do you dedicate so much of your life to music? I know you love it just like I do, but how do you find time to learn all those great instruments?
Well, to me, it's always just what I've done, and I've been very, very lucky in my life to never have had the quote-unquote regular job. I've just been immersed in music ever since I was 5 years old, and I never look back, and I've been very blessed that I've been able to make a living at it for so many years.
I know you did some, I'm sure you played in bands growing up, but then I know you spent a part of the 80s becoming an amazing producer for bands like Black Flag and Kasagugu and Dokken, just to name a few. But tell me, how did you get involved with the band Great White?
Well, it's funny because I actually met them in the studio in 1983 when they came in to record their first full-length EP, or actual album for EMI America. And I was a staff engineer at the studio that we ended up doing most of our records through the 80s and 90s at, called Total Access. I had met them, and they went out on tour with Priest in 83, 84, and they came back, and their next record, they wanted to have a little bit more production involved in it. So they said, well, you play keyboards, right? And I said, yeah. And they go, you play guitar too, right? I said, yeah. And you can sing, and yeah. So it was like, how'd you like to hang out with us and see if that works out? And it was just very organic how the whole thing happened. And we had done the record Shot in the Dark, and I was, involved on that level, in addition to, being involved in the production engineering. And before that album was done, they were all of a sudden looking at me going, hey, you're in the band now, right? I said, great, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, I know you did backing vocals on the first self-titled album, Great White, and then in '86. How did you guys come up with the track, What Do You Do, off the Shot in the Dark album?
That was just a riff that a great guitar player friend of mine, Michael Thompson, had, and I'd come up with a B section and then brought it to the band, and we kind of made it a full song. It was just one of those weird things where it's like everybody had their hands in the pie, and it just ended up being a pretty cool song, I think.
So I know at that point you were a part of the band Great White. What was that experience like? And I'm sure you have some interesting stories being there in the studio with the guys doing the producing side and being part of the band. What was that like?
Well, a lot of that came down to, them having the trust, and I had a great relationship with the band's manager, who was also an amazingly talented lyricist and had some studio chops as a producer, and he saw an opportunity to have us pair up, and we're kind of like our own support system, complete one-stop shop, as you would say, between, composing all the songs, recording all the songs, mixing all the songs. So it was just so great to feel like it was just us always when we were in the studio. That was a great experience.
I wish I was a fly on the wall on a couple of those experiences.
Well, during that time, we were all young and we were all pretty crazy. And, the walls of the studio usually were adorned with many images of rather unclad, beautiful girls.
Of course, you got to be motivated, right?
It was inspiration. That's what I say.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Then during the summer months of 1987, Great White released Once Bitten, which became home of the stellar track called Rock Me. You co-wrote that tune, right?
Yeah, it's funny. We were just talking. I was just talking to our former manager, and he said to me, and he actually said on one of the web zines, he said, I went to Michael and said, I need to face the day. That style of tune.
Uh-huh.
And, I heard a riff that Kendall did, and I thought, okay, let's do that. Let's put that together. And before we knew it, we had a song, and everybody was kind of looking at all of us going, I think this is cool, And then we brought it to the rest of the guys and put their touches on it. And it was just one of those things that just bore out of, and the funny thing was, Kendall and I were talking the other day, that was actually almost the last song we came up with for that record.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so sometimes when you're in the mode and you're in the zen of actually writing and getting ready to record, sometimes you've been at it for a month, and, the last two things we did for that record were Rock Me and All Over Now.
Gotcha. Yeah, Rock Me. What a great tune that was, and especially because in 1987, man, I was listening to Great White and all the metal bands. There were great radio stations out here like Pirate Radio and KNAC and stuff like that. They always used to play the tune Save Your Love. I know it's the last track on that album, but do you know what the background is on Save Your Love? I love that tune.
Yeah, that was actually a tune that a guy that had played with Great White for a couple of gigs. I was immersed in doing a record, and I couldn't get away to actually perform live with him at a couple of club dates. So they thought, if we can't count on him, then maybe we'll have to get somebody else. So this gentleman named Stephen Williams, who did the same thing I did, play guitar and play keyboards. They tried him out, and he just, a great talent, a real good little songwriter. Just didn't do very well in the live scenario. So he, they came back to me. But out of that time, Stefan wrote the music for that, and then Jack wrote the lyrics for it.
Okay, yeah, another great tune. Then about 6 months passed, and then in April of '89, the next album, Twice Shy, the great bluesy tune, House of Broken Love, came out. What a great song that was. And how was House of Broken Love pretty much invented?
That was just one of those things where I seem to recall one night we were in Nashville, and we were just kind of sitting around, and I was playing a guitar, and Jack was kind of humming, and next thing you know, we pretty much had the the framework of the song put together. But the real speciality for that song is Kendall's guitar playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the best parts of recording that song is that solo that's on all those solos that are interwoven in that song.
Yeah.
We put the screws to him for 8 hours.
Wow.
And his fingers were bleeding by the time he was done. But I'll tell you, the proof's in the pudding. It's in the grooves. I mean, what he came up with for that track is just, it still holds up today. I mean, we still play that song.
On the album Twice Shy, Ian Hunter, did he write Once Bitten, Twice Shy?
Yeah, he did. And actually, from what I understand, the history behind that was that he released the record, I think it was in '73. It was the first Ian Hunter solo record. And it was a moderate hit, I think, in Cleveland and New York.
Huh.
But never really made any waves in the total middle of the country, or even had anybody heard of it out west.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny idea about how that came to pass was, we had every intention of, we called the first record Once Bitten, and the next one was going to be called Twice Shy.
Uh-huh.
And it was actually Izzy from Guns N' Roses that said to our manager, said, hey, you know about this song? And, of course, being a Mott the Hoople fan, he said, of course I do. And he goes, it's a slam dunk. You guys should work a cover of this and see if it fits the band. I think it will. So it's actually Izzy who suggested that, before we went in to record. So we thought, it would be a great song to get it off the ground as far as the record was concerned. We didn't really think that it would blow up like it did.
Am I right? Mark Kendall co-wrote the tune, The Angel Song, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's another great song. That and The Angel Song, and I think the other tune was She Only on that album.
Just sitting around with acoustic guitars, and, we were thinking, maybe we should come up with something like, the approach of like how Zeppelin would do it. Very, very dramatic, where the guitar part that comes in at the end of the song is very, very distant and very ambient sounding, very crying, and we just got a vibe on a tune, and it was kind of organic in that it just kind of spilled out of all of us sitting in the same room. So you got to love when those happen.
I know, Michael, your first love is producing. What are you working on these days yourself?
It's pretty much full steam ahead for Great White.
Okay.
That's pretty much, at some point I'm going to throw out there a solo project that I actually did. And when we talk about a solo project, it truly, truly is. I played every instrument on it, wrote all the songs, recorded it myself, sang all the parts. So at some point this year, I'm going to put that out as well. Just kind of, low key, just see, for the fans and stuff, see how they dig that. But, like it or don't like it, it's definitely all me.
Well, Michael, I'm sure it will be absolutely fantastic. And, Michael, tell me a couple websites where fans and folks can go get more information on Great White and yourself.
Well, you can go to greatwhiterocks.com. That's one of the sites, and usually we try to update the tour dates. But our agency as well also is pretty good about updating the tour dates and letting people know where we are. That's Big Time Entertainment, BIGG. Between those two sites, you can pretty much get a handle on what we're up to. And, of course, we all have Facebook pages. Individually is usually the best way for fans to go to, rather than the band thing, because our individual ones we really are much more hands-on and respond to.
Very good to know. See, that was a good question, Michael. That was a good one.
Yes.
Because you never know what kind of websites people have these days, with the social networking and everything like that. So I just always, throw that question out. Mark Lardy, thank you so very much for being a part of the 80s Experience tonight.
Well, it was a blast, JJ. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to the folks down in the Mission Viejo area.